I don't know that I really chose what I am doing now. It's all just kind of like fallen into place. And I guess for people who are watching, I'm a DJ and I do events and I'm a promoter and I put on events. Uh, I do that within Utah, so I do most of the colleges in Utah. We do a lot of our own big events. We have a tour called the Uprising Paint Fight that we've taken to other states, and we've gone down into Arizona, gone up into Idaho, we've gone to Nevada, and our goal is to kind of move that, as much as we can around the country. And it's not like the regular job. It's not a 9 to 5. It requires a lot of late nights, awkward times. It's it's not your normal job, but I don't know. I kind of fell into that spot through other things. I've always kind of had like an entrepreneurial type mindset where I've always worked a job I've liked. Number one, when I was, I've worked a job since I was, well, I can't say I've always worked a job I've liked. I've worked since I was like 14. It started with a guy, Brother Brown, and in California, a guy in my ward used to cut trees after school. And so after school, I needed the extra money, So he would pick me up because he was a school teacher. He would teach during the day, and then after school, he'd pick me up, and then we would go cut down trees, and he would cut them down, and I'd run them through the tripper at 14. And I hated it, but I needed the money. You know what I mean? And I always thought, it's like, man, if I'm going to work, I want to do something that I like. So when I turned 15, I'd always liked motorcycles. My buddies had dirt bikes. My family, we couldn't afford one at that point in time. You know what I mean? And that's why I was working, was because, to kind of help out. And my buddy got this job at a motorcycle shop. I'm like, man, that's awesome. He got to put together the motorcycles, and in the process, he got to go take them for a ride to make sure that they function properly. And I'm like, what cooler job is that at 15 years old than to be putting together motorcycles and taking them for rides? It sounds awesome. So my dad told me he would help me buy a really cheap truck to get around, but I would have to have a job first. And he told me, it's like, oh, just go get a job. And I'm like, well, I don't want to just get a job. I want to do something I like. So I asked my buddy Chad, who was working at the shop, the motorcycle shop, can I go work with you? And he's like, well, I'll see if I can get you a job. Long story short, he got me a job, and I started working at this motorcycle shop. It was like a dream job for me at 15, Eventually bought a motorcycle, and I've been into motorcycles my whole life since, and still do. Still kind of like a passion. But from that, I never wanted to work another job that I didn't like, And I went on the mission. Actually, when I moved to Utah, I worked at a motorcycle shop in Bountiful for a little bit, and really enjoyed that. Went on the mission, came home, went back to work for the guy who owned the motorcycle shop. We started a business, and in this business, we started a brand, and so we're trying to push this brand, and I didn't really know how to do it, but I had been going to a bunch of parties, so I'm like, oh, I'll just throw parties to push this brand. Whole long story short, in between that, it's like that's how I became, the guy who threw the parties. And, I used to try and hire DJs to come do these parties, and I'd pay them a bunch of money, and I felt like they did a horrible job, and I don't felt like they connected with the crowd. And, I just didn't think they did a good job, and I'm like, well, I think I can do better, And then also, it was like I had two sets of friends at the time. I had friends that were going to like these crazy raves, which had really cool electronic music, had big, massive sound systems. It had, like the crazy intelligent lighting, video screens, walls. Just when you looked at it aesthetically, it was awesome. You know what I mean? But like the culture behind it and kind of everything that went along with that event, those types of events necessarily wasn't like the best environment, but then I had another set of friends who would go to the church dances, and you go to the church dances and it was like 2 speakers, 2 little blinky lights, and a guy playing the hokey pokey, and there was no excitement, and it was super lame, and just not fun. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody who does that. So my goal was to take the two. It was like, take the excitement, take the lighting, take the big sound of these rave type of events, but then try to take the standards of maybe the church dance and the morals and like that, and try to like infuse them to make like a cool church dance. And I don't know that's like the perfect description, but that's what we've tried to do. And in my DJing, I play music that is edited, obviously. We edit songs, beyond just the radio content, so that we can take away the filth, but still have like that, mass appeal to it. And with the DJing, it's like people they look at me and they think like, oh, Marcus is like this crazy like party guy. He's always out on the weekends. A lot of people don't even know that I'm like married or have kids. And it's not, my wife generally works the door, and a lot of times my 2 older kids are running around the events. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm trying to hide it. People just have this like perception of me that, I'm this crazy party guy. And when it comes down to it, my whole events are basically built to like, create an alternative to other type of parties, to still give like the excitement, to give like, the energy of like these big parties, but just get rid of the bad stuff, and we still have problems, but we're trying to create the best environment we can and encourage people to make good choices. And when it comes down to it, if I had to choose, like what I do over the church, it's no question. My faith is centered in Jesus Christ, and even raising kids, and even after the church, after the mission type stuff, it's like, what I do is to support my family and to encourage them, but then it's also to reach out to kids and to tell them, hey, I'm not like, look at me. People look at me and they're like, you're Mormon, oh wait, you went on a mission? And I'm like, yeah, God still loves me too, It's like, I can go, you don't have to be like this cookie cutter type person to go on a mission. It's like God gives certain people personalities, and your personality is to connect with certain people, and you may not be able to do that unless you go out on the mission. You know what I mean? I'm babbling here, but yeah, the DJing stuff, it's good, but it's not who I am. I teach Sunday school. I teach the 11-year-olds in primary right now. This is kind of embarrassing to say, but I'm a Boy Scout leader. I'm a full tithe payer. I've got a strong testimony. It's like the DJing is what I do for a living, but it's not who I am.